It's a scientific fact, probably. Anyone who doesn't like Richard Simmons just has no soul. For decades, his over-the-top energy was served up with a healthy helping of can-do attitude, crazy clothes, and, perhaps most importantly, kindness. It was all with the goal of getting us ordinary people on our feet, dancing, and sweating to the oldies. And it worked. Dancing along with Simmons made exercise fun, in a way that trying to keep up with muscular chisel people who didn't even break a sweat, while you tried not to die, was definitely the opposite of fun. Simmons, fans knew, was right there with them. The son of vaudeville performers and a New Orleans native, Simmons struggled with his weight for a long time. He weighed 200 pounds when he was in 8th grade, and he knew what it was like to have food as a dangerous friend. He decided to do something about it, and help others do something about their health too. Simmons was wildly popular in the 1980s, and when Men's Health talked to him in 2012, the then 63-year-old was still teaching classes, making appearances, and wearing his famous dolphin shorts. For decades, he was out there, singing, motivating, and dancing. Then, in 2014, he disappeared. Why? Let's look at what we do and don't know. Richard Simmons dropped out of the public eye in 2014. It's unclear just when Richard Simmons dropped out of the public eye, but sources do agree that it happened sometime in early 2014. According to Entertainment Tonight, his last public appearance was at a California fundraiser that took place in January, while longtime friend and filmmaker Dan Taberski says, via Rolling Stone, that it was February 15 when he didn't show up to teach a class at his gym, Slimmons. That, Taberski says, was the first of a long series of no-shows that fans and friends found incredibly weird. He no longer visited the gym he'd spent so much time at, he cut off contact with everyone, and was even conspicuously absent at the funerals of friends. It had people incredibly worried, and in 2015, TMZ reported that the Los Angeles Police Department had visited Simmons to do a welfare check. He was described as not just perfectly fine, but they said he couldn't have been nicer and more gracious. He told them he hadn't been at the gym because he had people looking after it and wasn't needed there, and that he just needed to spend time with myself. Was that it, or was there more to it? Here's why it's a huge deal. In order to talk about Richard Simmons' retreat from the world, it's important to talk about why it's such a weird thing. For decades, Simmons made reaching out to people, especially people who had no one else, his life. Simmons took a very personal interest in people in a way that went way beyond getting them to exercise. Dan Taberski told Vogue that, for years, he would wake up at 4 a.m. and start making phone calls. He'd make as many as 50 a day to check in on people he knew needed a friendly ear and help get to the root of their problems behind their struggles with weight. He cared a lot. When tour buses drove by his law home, he told Men's Health that he loved going out and talking with people. I live for those things. Those things make me feel good. He spent countless hours responding to fan mail and emails. Every time I meet somebody, I ask myself, how can I help this person? What more can I say? What song can I sing them? What blessing can they tell me about that can keep them on the right place in their mind? Many of them he met at his gym in Beverly Hills. Up until the day he disappeared, he was still teaching regular classes there on every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. He went from being America's friendliest social butterfly to simply vanishing overnight. There have been a ton of rumors about what's going on. In talking about why Richard Simmons retreated from the outside world he'd been so involved with for decades, it's important to acknowledge some rumors and debunk them. There are two massive ones that started circulating in 2017, and the first was a claim that he was transitioning into a woman. According to his representative Michael Catalano, that was 100% not true. At the time, he told people that he had just seen Simmons at his home, and he was still healthy, trim, sporting a salt and pepper beard, and definitely not transitioning. The other rumor is one that people says first went public on Dan Taberski's podcast, Missing Richard Simmons. In the third part of the 6-part series, Simmons' friend and one-time masseuse claimed that he was being held prisoner in his own home. Reports from the New York Daily News went as far as to suggest witchcraft was somehow involved, and he was being held there by his longtime housekeeper, Teresa Revels. It was an accusation that Simmons' rep Tom Esty debunked as a complete load of crap, and Simmons himself had confirmed as much in a 2016 phone call with Entertainment Tonight. In the call, he referred to them as an old married couple and explained his disappearance like this: "It was time for me to take some time." Richard Simmons lost his beloved dog. Anyone who has lost a beloved pet knows that it's a different kind of grief. The hole they leave in our lives is raw, painful, and sometimes it just doesn't heal. Richard Simmons absolutely loved his dogs. According to National Purebred Dog Day, he was so devoted to his Dalmatians that when he needed to be away from them, he would make sure he always called them daily, just to sing and talk to them. His favorite, because every parent has a favorite, and anyone who says otherwise is lying, was Hattie, pictured, and when the nearly 20-year-old dog died in 2014, he was devastated. Dan Taberski, the host of the Missing Richard Simmons podcast, told Eastern Time that Hattie had been not only his favorite dog, but his last surviving dog. Her death happened just before he disappeared from the public eye, and Taberski says Simmons had reached out to him via email after it happened. Simmons wrote, "It's very hard for me right now. See you soon." Richard Simmons spent some time fighting rumors in court. Richard Simmons may have started avoiding public appearances in 2014, but he did become mired in a legal battle in 2017. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Simmons sued the National Enquirer and a series of other media outlets for running stories saying that he'd had a series of procedures done and that he was transitioning to female. The suit condemned the publications for cashing in on a sensationalized story, saying, in part, principles of freedom of speech and press may protect their prerogative to mock and degrade the LGBTQ community. But freedom to speak is not freedom to defame. It seems like it might have been an open and shut case. Clearly, they had published stories that just weren't true. But shockingly, Simmons lost the case when the judge ruled that being misidentified as transgender wasn't harmful enough to his reputation to warrant a win. The case was dismissed, and NBC News later reported that Simmons was ordered to pay $130,000 to the publications that he had sued in order to cover part of their legal fees.